November 12th, 2024 Town Council meeting order. Roll call, please.
Craig Brewer.
Here.
Brian Burney.
Here.
Scott Jones.
Here.
John Price.
Here.
Chad Gooding.
All right, if you'll stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Okay. First order of business is approval of our October 8th minutes. Are there any changes, amendments, mistakes, errors that anybody saw? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead.
I move we approve the October 8th, 2024 Town Council meeting minutes.
Second.
It's been a first and second to approve the October 8th, 2024 Town Council meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right. Next order of business is public comments for non-agenda items. We'll ask you to come up. We'll limit your comments to 2 minutes. If you'll just state your name and address for the record, please. Do we have any?
I'm Dottie Salisbury. I live at 9260 Brookview Avenue, and I just would like to know the status of the noise ordinance.
It's not on the agenda yet.
I see that it's not on the agenda. I just wondered, have things been done? Is there a work in progress?
Still work in progress.
Yeah, we've been
Language is
working-
being worked down, and till the legal counsel and a couple other things are worked on, we're not going to put it on the agenda
I
yet.
understand. I just wanted to know if things were in the
Yeah.
works.
Still in the works.
Yeah, we did meet with a noise expert via Zoom call and had some conversations. There's a lot of interesting learning there. And we're hoping to, and he recommended some other equipment for us to use. And so that's been ordered and was received today. And so we got to have a chance to do some testing with it. And we hope to have it on the agenda at December Town Council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Anything else? Come on up.
Hey, good evening. My name is Brad Sheff, 8891 North, 700 West. I think you all know why I'm here again. Continuation of the ongoing problem known as Daniel's Vineyard. Last time I was here, we discussed how it gets worse every year. It gets worse every venue. They're still allowed to hold concerts even though their approval says they're restricted to music. So through this year, they seem to have more concerts. They're louder. They have more bass. They're more disruption. And they've been shut down once or twice this season, being at 80 decibels, if not higher than that. But then they still continue to play where nobody could hear them, which proved to pretty much everybody in McCordsville they can operate by playing music and they don't have to disrupt the livelihoods of everybody in the northwest corner of McCordsville, which makes me ask you guys, why is this nonsense allowed to continue with this disruption when they prove to themselves and the neighborhood they can still play music as they're approved and allowed to and keep the peace amongst the neighborhood that they were allowed to encroach within? But we're going to take that one step further because I know you're tired of hearing about the noise, that nonstop disruption, but I'm here to talk more about the traffic. It got to a point the few times that we've been able, when we're not out, because we're an active family, you guys may remember that. We're active, we're hardly home, but when we're home, I need to access my property. It'd be nice to have peace and quiet so I can use my property, but that nonstop disruption gets old. But it's to the point now where traffic gets backed up south of me past the field to Larry's driveway, and it does not move to the north, south, east, and west. If you haven't experienced it, I know your 911 calls have, and they haven't been able to get through. I know that from talking with some of your fellow officers. But when traffic doesn't move and I have to get out, or the opposite, I need to get back in, it is very disrespectful that these so-called concerts are still allowed to proceed when they're disrupting the livelihoods of people. What if I had an emergency condition and I could not get out, or 911 could not get to me? I mean, what would be my ramifications? It's going to come back to the town and Daniel's Vineyard of adding to this problem. So it wasn't just one night, it's multiple nights, more towards the end of the season, that this traffic persists where it does not move. One night I sat out there where we didn't have a game, and it was probably a good 15 minutes, bumper to bumper. Nobody moved. I walked down talking to people, everybody's upset, irate. There's buses from Lafayette Limo, of all people, 2 or 3 buses in line trying to get to the vineyard, people with RVs trying to get, come on now, trucks and trailers trying to get through, just people trying to commute home, but nobody can move because Daniels is trying to hold a concert, and they're blocking off everybody, driveways are being blocked off, access is being blocked off at the 4-way intersection. Nobody moves because that venue is set up as a winery, a tasting room, not as a concert. So here we are once again, they're trying to be Deer Creek, Verizon, whatever you want to call it. They're trying to mimic what's already successful in Noblesville in a place beyond.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. It's 2 minutes. Thank you.
We'll see you on the next one. Appreciate your time.
Come on up.
Tell you missed You need my name and address?
Please, just for the record.
Blair Borman, 6843 West Thornbush Drive, McCordsville, 46055. Dottie asked one of the questions I wanted to ask, when it was going on with the noise ordinance issues and that type of thing, but I guess luckily for me, I actually missed like the last 3 or 4 concerts because I was traveling out of town, so I wasn't witness to all that you guys had to listen to, but I've had to listen to other ones during the course of the year. And I saw in the minutes from last October's previous meeting that Dottie had spoke, and it might have been you, Greg, that asked, well, what do you want? What is the solution?
Yeah.
And I offered, and I'll say it again, they don't need to have 18 to 25 full-blown concerts a year. I mean, they have 18 consecutive ones for sure. They send me the little card that tells me every band, what day they're going to be there, etc. That's, I also get stuff like that from Ruoff. So, if you do a little history, check the archives of the town council and your predecessors. When they okayed Daniels Vineyard to be a vineyard, they never, in their minds, thought they were approving a concert venue. And there's comments from various people. I've handed them to you. I can look them up for you again. So I keep hearing, well, they're approved to do that. Well, sounds to me like either they had better lawyers than we did. Now we don't, because Beth is in the position. But back then, maybe they had better lawyers. So they sure pulled the wool over that town council's eyes. And I'm just asking that you all do something to maybe correct, which I think was a grievous oversight on the part of, again, your predecessors. Instead of turning, well, they're allowed to do it, so what are we supposed to do attitude. That
I wouldn't say we're turning a blind eye to this. I mean, no, hold on. Your 2 minutes are up, and anyhow.
Okay.
We have put in place a nuisance ordinance to allow any resident in this town, if they feel like they're being agreed in place, so they can now file a nuisance. We have put in implement a special events permit so that to alleviate in the future, if they're going to have those kind of size of events, that they have to be pre-approved so that we can control and we're in the process of updating the noise ordinance. So I wouldn't say we've turned a blind eye to it. I think this council, of any of the councils in the past, have put more time and effort into trying to solve the problem. The problem I see is there's different opinions on how that problem should be solved. There's a group of people who want no entertainment out there whatsoever. There's others who want limited entertainment. And then there's a group of people who I talk to who's like, I love going out there. To them, the difficult part is finding out, is there a compromise or not? And I think that's the ongoing discussion amongst the council members is it a no Is it a full-blown, or is there a compromise in the middle? And I think that's what's, the consensus is lacking right now
Can I
on
ask
which way, yeah.
one question on that? I was under the impression, again, I have been traveling and missed the last few town council meetings, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that there's no nuisance ordinance that has any impact on those concerts. I know you're working on a nuisance ordinance, but I didn't think anything was passed.
No, this is ordinance is passed.
That included noise issues?
Well, you get to determine what's a nuisance. You know, if you feel excessive noise a problem, then you can file a nuisance
Well, I
complaint.
thought the draft I saw listed a series of stuff like trash piling up, that type of thing, or bad smell or whatever, but
I mean, I have a couple neighbors who have barking dogs that are a nuisance. I mean, I would be under a noise.
so you're saying that would qualify noise
Yeah.
pollution, so to speak? would
And under the
qualify as
state, and under the state statute, you have the ability to go after them too.
I was under the impression that you scratched the noise part of that out of there.
Yeah, it's not tied to a noise ordinance.
Could I just
The
jump in?
noise
Sure.
issue, I mean, not noise ordinance.
The list of different things that's in that nuisance ordinance is not meant to be exhaustive. It's meant to give a number of examples of things that could be deemed nuisances. So anything that you deem a nuisance, you could choose to file.
Anything, okay. Okay, thank
I
you
mean,
for clarifying that.
trying to get more and more avenues of remediation, and also we're trying to put in places if we feel like, yeah, they're allowed to have entertainment out there,
Like
then,
X amount.
then if they're going to exceed and cause issues like was previously brought up with the road stuff, which we are trying to curtail and stop, they got to have more planning. They can't just, hey, we're throwing a concert here. They should have enough, if they're allowed to continue to have those, they should have enough history and data by now to know which are their popular events, which ones would exceed their capacity, and that would be where they would need to file a permit with the town. So we're well aware of it, and if they are exceeding their parking capacity and all that, then that gives us the remediation to shut them down. Yeah, you violated this permit, and then it also gives us, standing to go after them in the future if they keep violating it, and a pattern, so.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I understand there's no concerts, guys. Let them do what they want, side. I just think there should be a limit.
And
I
I think-
understand that they said in their original business
That's-
plan, we would have 4 to 6 events that might include live music. So I get why the Old Town Council said that's okay. But that's what they thought they were allowing, not.
I wish it was an easy, it's not an easy solution, it's a difficult topic. There's a lot of different opinions, and we are working, it is a work in progress.
Well, good. Thanks for explaining
Yeah,
the
yeah.
nuisance
Sure.
ordinance, 'cause
I mean,
I
we're
truly
not trying
thought-
to, we're not dodging it, trust me. It's on the forefront of several councilmen's minds.
Okay,
So
great.
it's,
Thank you.
we're working on it. It's just probably not fast enough some people would like. Any other comments, other non-public, or non-agenda items?
Josh Plank, 5457 West 900. I was up here in June or July asking about the estimated completion dates of Lennar's subdivision across the street from my home. My septic had an issue there, and we're trying to I had to get annexed so I could get tied on to sewers. We're waiting on something, and I think I was told September we should be able to accept flow, and we're November and we're not accepting flow, I guess, yet, because I haven't been notified. And it's costing me a lot of money because I got 2 mortgages now, because I was kind of basing my planned sell date on some of the information I obtained in this meeting, and now I'm starting to get more upset than I was before.
Do we, Mark?
Yeah, right now we're waiting on the Somerton Section 3 plat to record. Basically, that's what the legal mechanism that dedicates the sewers to the town. They have, Lennar is the developer there, and they have a few things that they're had to wrap up. They had a little bit of a delay with hydrant relocation that was required. So that is complete now, and they're doing the restoration for that. They've got a few punch list items to complete, but if you notice, the subdivision is starting to look very complete. Asphalt's paved, everything's down. They're just getting these last items done, and in which case, once the plat is recorded, we'll, of course, notify you. The lateral is to your property, and the sanitary sewer is complete and tested and ready. It's just waiting for that dedication so it becomes the town's property.
So when can I connect?
Well, I think this goes to the discussion we had on timing when you were here and its relative uncertainty, and how comfortable you were with not having a hard date. And this is what was anticipated when we were discussing that, is some circumstance such as this. I think we're fortunate that it's as far along as what Mark is saying, because as these things go, sometimes the delays are really extensive.
Yeah.
Are we expecting by the end of the year for them to dedicate that?
Yeah, I expect probably by the end of the month, they'll get it complete. The only issue is, like, I can't give you promises because it's the developer that has to complete the items. So I can give you an estimate, but I can't give you a promise. So
Can I go ahead and hook onto it now?
it's not our sewer yet. So no, you cannot.
Can I connect to it where it's stubbed off in my yard and just not connect my house to it? So I can get my yard work done and then just make the connection underneath the house later? Just to try to speed this process up.
Let me touch base with Lennar and see when they're going to complete these items, because I'd much rather give you a timeline to shoot for, and then you can line up your contractor to start on that date type thing. The connection, once we give you the connection, we can't take it back, so to speak. So I don't really want to change the location of the connection or modify our standards or approaches for this. There's a mechanism in place where we release it, you get your contractor, and our public works inspects it, and that's all there is to it. It's a done deal. If we start introducing special conditions into it, it makes it complicated.
Okay. The other issue I've got is the restoration around the sidewalk.
Yeah, that is underway. We had miscommunication with the contractor that was doing that, and he's been notified.
Any estimated date on that?
My project manager was arranging that. I didn't get an update from him, so as I understand it, it's already been notified. I just don't know when the schedule is.
Can you let me know?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other public comments for non-agenda items? Okay. Committee and staff reports. Parks Board.
Parks Board met on October 22nd. Events for the year were reviewed and all were felt to have gone well, with notes made on use of McCord Square
Dr. Burney,
for next
could
year.
you bring the mic a little closer? Thank you.
Better? It's
You might not
on.
be on.
It's got, I have a green light.
Okay.
I think there were 55 trunks at Trunk or Treat, which is 22 increase over year to year. Was held at Outlook this year. And it's being looked at to see how that can be accommodated of more trunks for treats next year. On the Old School Park, the bathroom and shelter install ran into a change order. Everybody was under the impression that those were pre-built bathrooms and shelters that would be truck delivered and set off onto a foundation, but it turns out they're Lego kits. And there is a charge to assemble them and build them on site, so they'll be stick built on site. So that's a change order for Smith Projects. We'll still be within our contingency, but we approved a $53,800 change order for that misunderstanding. We looked into a Christmas tree for McCord Square, and there's really not anything you can use for a Christmas tree there, so we looked into custom-built Christmas trees, and basically, you know, how high do you want to go? It's $1,000 a foot, roughly. So I think we settled on something, I can't remember, 25 feet, 35 feet, I can't remember.
We're shooting for a 30 footer, but we're also gonna shoot for finding some sponsorships first.
We discussed the youth sports park as our next project, and there were RFPs from Hunden, Context, and Johnson that we sorted through. As far as selecting a site and what could fit on various sites that might be available for sale now, preferably with one owner, as land is decreasing in availability rapidly in McCordsville. And we've felt pretty comfortable with Context's proposal. Not to mention they're local and we have a lot of experience with them, and they were probably the most cost-effective. So we selected them for the RFP to help us choose a youth sports park location. Anything else, Tim? Is that? Okay.
Thank you, sir. Redevelopment Commission did meet. Two major items was the resolution for the patch development, and the other thing is, and you'll see it's in the consent agenda, is the 2025 RDC spending plan. I guess this is a new DLGF requirement. It does not hold the town or the RDC to anything. It's just a document, I guess, for purposes of reporting.
This is the first year everybody's taking a stab at it. I'm sure the DLGF will get all the data and then make changes in the subsequent years, but
So
we followed it the best we could, and I think Jennifer would agree most communities are just trying to wade through, and most are using the Barnes and Thornburg template, which is what we used.
yeah. So that was the Vernon Township Fire Committee did meet. It was last month, and just discussed a couple of vendors and changes or rebid out for health insurance and other things, just kind of re-looking at everything as a due diligence. But we will be meeting tomorrow night to discuss a merit board. Metropolitan Police Board.
We did not meet.
Okay. Public Works.
Same, we did not meet.
Okay. Architectural Review Committee.
Architectural Review met on Tuesday, October 15th, and the one thing on the agenda was Fisher Homes' request for approval of their Masterpiece Series product for Area F of Hampton Walk. This is the area that's along the southern aspect of Hampton Walk, large PUD across to the west of McCordsville Elementary School, and this is at the southern end of it, kind of along Mount Comfort Road. We liked the elevations that we saw. We approved them all except for the Masterpiece, Masterpiece something, maybe it's just called the Masterpiece. There's one model we didn't approve because we didn't think it was the same character or quality as what was initially shown when the PUD was approved. We also agreed that the Modern Prairie series could have gables as presented because of the prairie style that they are. So they have a different slope to their roof. We thought one pair of homes was monotonous, which means they can't be built next to or immediately across the street from each other. We've got a little grid matrix where they can't be too close to each other. And Fisher was representing the homes would be in the $500,000 to $800,000 price point. Ryan, anything else?
All right, thank you, Dr. Burney. Dr. Price, Planning Commission?
Planning Commission did meet. There was one topic dealing with arbor homes. There was a group of citizens who were here last month and expressed some concerns. They were also at the Planning Commission meeting, and they seemed to, were more comfortable that Arbor had addressed what their concerns were. Some of the other concerns were actually out of control of the developer, things like speed limits along 500 West and drainage and things like that, that Mark will be taking care of. I think there was a request to change the approximately 10 lots on the southwest corner from the narrower lots to a wider lot, and Arbor Homes did agree to do that. And the only other discussion topic around that was dealing with the sidewalks in the park area. I guess the proposal is to have them mulched, and some of the members of the Planning Commission would prefer asphalt, solid surfaces.
I agree with that.
So I think that's the only real opening. And so the Planning Commission voted 7-0 to approve.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda at this time. Are there any any items that any council member wants removed for more discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been a first and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right. Old business. This is a second reading. This is an amendment to the Sycamore Drive PUD. I believe, Ryan, you're covering this.
Yeah, and I think our petitioner is here tonight. Come on up to the podium. So this is, I'll give it just a real brief basics of this and then turn it over to the petitioner to kind of make their pitch for it. So Meridian Homes at Sycamore Drive, PUD. This is located along County Road 650 North. This is the project that is the build for rent neighborhood, and they are seeking a amendment to their PUD to allow fencing. When we originally drafted the PUD, there were fences expressly prohibited other than for the dog park, and that was, at the time, they felt the direction to take this product. And since then, I think they've learned, and I will say that we have learned from other folks that are either building this product or interested in this product, is that the renter profile for this type of product actually wants that fence. So they can, kids playing, dogs in the yard, whatever it may be, but there is a demand from that renter profile for such a thing. So with that said, we've came down the path of creating a PUD amendment that would allow fences in the residential yards of this PUD. So
we have been working, hi, my name's Shannon Fletcher.
Yeah.
We've been working with AmeriFence, who is local to this area, to provide us with 48-inch black aluminum metal fences. Do you have any questions for me or concerns?
So you're going to use one style fence for all the properties. It's the same for every one of them, right?
That's
It's
correct.
uniform.
Everything is going to match the same fence as what's in the dog park. It'll be black aluminum fencing.
Okay. And approximately how many of your properties are you going to need fences on? Or are you doing it?
Currently, we are putting fences on, so there's basically, if you divide the property up, there's like, you can divide up into 4 quadrants. The first one is fairly rented, so the second one is not. So we're going to put 4 fences, so the back-to-back homes, we're going to put fences there. Not on the sides because it would go into the easements. It's just not practical. And then the houses that are along the roads.
650?
Yeah,
Okay.
650.
That's ones
That's
I was
correct.
more concerned about. Okay.
Kind of eyes wide open on the fences. I realize it's a desired amenity, probably ranks right up there with doggy doors. But you're going to do all the exterior maintenance, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure you've thought it through as to what's going to be in these enclosed fenced areas, such as pets Uh, Play items, every plastic thing imaginable will be scattered. It's not like you're going to be able to go in there and take your zero-turn radius mower and zip and go. And then you've got all that weed whacking along the fence that's going to be kept trimmed up, right?
Yes, that is a concern that we have already brought up with our contracted mowing company, start to finish. And we're putting 5-foot gates, 2 5-foot gates on all of the fences for access for their mowers. So it will be taken care of, weed whacked, and well maintained.
That was my next question on gates, like if firemen need to get in there and the gates are locked, is there going to be potpourri of locks, or is there just going to be latches and they can't be locked? Or
There will be latches.
and then, we probably know we don't like fences in our drainage easements.
There will not be encroaching on any easements. It's been made very clear that we're staying out of all of the
Yeah,
easements.
it doesn't really say that in the PUD, I don't think, but we don't permit them for individuals in other developments if they're in our drainage easements, because we need to access those for maintenance of stormwater and so on. And I'm sure you have some drainage easements there, and it doesn't really say that in the PUD, does it, Ryan?
I thought we had changed that, Dr. Bernie. Let me check it real quick.
Maybe I missed it, but I was looking to see if it said fences can't be in drainage easements. Because the drainage easements sometimes are part of the backyard, and people think their fence should go to that. And I'm a little bit worried about a self-extended fence landing there.
And I have been working with Allison on the permits to just to have everything teed up and with the fencing company, and we are not encroaching. We would not encroach on any easements.
That was the intent of the highlighted language here on 2AE. That is referencing our zoning ordinance, which would include that language that prohibits them from being located within a drainage easement.
And then these fences would all have to be permitted through Public Works?
Correct.
So every individual fence has to have a permit pulled, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yes. We've already received a number of them that we are holding right now.
That's all the questions I have on fences.
All right, any other questions for the petitioner? Comments, Ryan?
Just one last thing, and this is, I have apologized to Mr. Kunkel earlier today. Staff found here at kind of the last hour what we think was a typo in the original Meridian Homes PUD. It actually doesn't place snow plowing on the owners like we normally do with our subdivisions. So we brought that up, and Scott was unwilling to make a commitment tonight without having the opportunity to talk to his equity partner, which is understandable. So, it's a completely unrelated item in the PUD, but not doing my job if we don't at least point out that we do not have that normal snow plowing language in this PUD.
Let's see, I think that's what we need to have. That's putting a lot of time and effort on our resources.
Yeah, so this is one it's a tough one. I wish we had caught it earlier. I think, maybe there's options to kind of signal your support for the fences and allow them to get moving on the fences. But I know in talking with Scott, it was, they've got renters that really want to get those fences installed, and so it is time critical.
Well, but I also have snow moving in about a month and a half, and so I would like us to know exactly whether we're going to be responsible for plowing those streets or the owner. And majority of our, new developments, that's a requirement. So
Correct. We wouldn't have to plow in any scenario until we're not top coated here, correct, Mark? No. Until roads are top coated. So that is just a point that's a little bit unique in that we never plow until a road is finished, and these roads are not considered finished until they are surface coated.
Since these are full maintenance rentals, correct?
That's
So you're removing the snow from the driveways and sidewalks already, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So just the error is in the main road.
Yeah.
well, I just don't want to go through a whole nother. I'd rather update the PUD one time only, including the fences and the snowing versus keep coming back over and over again.
Yeah. Understood.
So did he give you a timeline?
No, he couldn't get it done. He couldn't have that conversation today. He didn't know a timeline. He, of course, his preference is not to, and please jump in, I know you've probably talked with Scott. His preference was not to wait another 30 days to get approval for the fencing. So I don't know if there's ability to signal some sort of support for fencing, that maybe that would.
Yeah, he called me on the way here, and he was like, just so you're not blindsided.
Well, I mean-
yeah, I mean, the ground's going to be getting cold.
I'd like to have support from the petitioner that they are in agreement to the snow plowing. I mean, the way I look at it is we approve this ordinance, they get what they want, and we're hoping they come back and agree to what we want.
They agree to snow plowing, we agree to fencing.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Isn't there a grass issue in here too?
Yeah, we have that language addressed there in section B, I believe it is, if I'm reading this correctly, where we've addressed the grass. So I don't know how much you want me to go into detail, but this PUD had some native plantings and grasses that was permitted via the original PUD. That was all installed correctly. And we've gotten some feedback from some of the adjoining property owners to the south that they didn't love the aesthetic of the grass. And I would say also these grasses take quite some time to establish, and until they establish, there are some weed issues that can crop up, and then their fear was that those weeds would come into their yard. And so the developer agreed to address that problem by using a different type of turf grass, not the turf grass that you see in your yards, but more of a golf course type of turf grass, which grows to a height of about 8 feet, but is not get as tall as the standard native plantings here in Indiana, and has a little bit more of a, I would say, a uniform presentation to it. And so they agreed to make that change. It is in here in section B of this PUD amendment. We believe we've gotten that addressed to everyone's satisfaction.
Is it quoted 8 feet?
8 inches.
8 inches.
Misspoke there.
Minor clarification there.
That's a big fight. Well, I mean, that's just my preference. My preference isn't to keep bringing ordinances back and updating them. I mean, it's kind of a one thing or all here. I'm in support of the fences and this, but I'd like to have some indication that they, you know, if they don't come back, I mean, if he says, no, I'm not going to do it, I mean, it doesn't mean we won't still look at passing it. I would prefer to do all the updates at one time. But my support would be, yeah, I'll do the fences if we can do this, they can do the snowplow.
Anything you want to jump in here?
I really wish I was at the last meeting. We didn't realize we had to be here in person at the meeting, and then we could have dealt with this later. But we have always been very supportive and willing to work with you. We went above and beyond working with the neighbors beside us, above and beyond clearing out more trees out of the drainage ditch to help it flow a little bit better. So I don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to stay on your good side and work with the town that's been supporting us and helping us push this through. I would appreciate I understand your concern and the unexpected work and hours that snow removal causes.
Well, I guess the other way I look at it is, I guess till we get an updated PUD, those fence permits don't have to actually go through Public Works, do they? I'm saying we could approve the ordinance, but if we don't see working with the developer on adding the snow language to an updated PUD, those permits, how long do those permits stay active in Public Works?
I mean, those permits won't go to public, I mean, they go to the Public Works Department.
Okay.
They don't go to the committee for review.
All right.
So,
Well, I mean, that's what I would like to say. I'd like to see next month, you guys come back, work with staff and update the PUD to cover the snow plowing.
So then we won't be able to do the fences until January.
No, I think what we can do is, we can approve a contingent upon you guys coming back with updated language for the snow plowing.
So what does that look like and how does it work? Because we have to have the permits approved before the fencing people will even start their fabrication, because they make the fences.
So procedurally, how it could work is they could make a motion to approve contingent upon the developer agreeing to do the snow plow, agree to the fencing on the condition that you make a commitment to the PUD that will allow the snow plowing.
I mean, I can't make that commitment.
I understand, but that was what their motion would be. So that if ultimately you do not make that commitment, then the fencing would not pass. So that passes it tonight.
So how
get you
does
started
it,
on the fencing.
how does it, like, what would allow that to happen? Like, how do we, like, okay, so Scott and our partner meet, and then they just send an email to Ryan?
They draft a commitment
Commitment letter.
that gets attached to the PUD that will have already been approved tonight.
And then as soon as Ryan, you get that email,
We would let permits fly.
It's not,
Oh.
yeah, and it would have to, it's like an addendum to a contract, basically, is what a commitment is.
It means you're not waiting 30 days, assuming the equity partner agrees to it.
And just so you're aware, I mean, we have a lot of houses being built now and a lot of fence permits out there, so you'll be put in the queue for review. Ron Kreider does all our reviews, and
Right.
he's got a pile sitting on his desk right now, so he does them as quickly as he can, but like, they won't all get stamped tomorrow. It'll take us a little bit.
right, okay.
So I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 100824 with the contingent of the developer agreeing to provide snow removal
On their streets
on the streets.
That would be a commitment.
via commitment letter.
Second.
All right, there's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 100824, amendment to the Sycamore Drive PUD contingent upon the developer committed to road snow removal via a commitment letter. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Call me tomorrow if you have questions.
Dr. Price. All right, new business. This is a first reading. Ordinance number 111224, ordinance amending the rate ordinance for trash utility.
This is the last step in our garbage update. So because garbage and recycling is a utility, we must update our ordinance to reflect the price. So this ordinance updates our utility ordinance to reflect the 1848
Yep.
price that we've approved.
Does this require a public hearing?
We'll bring it back next month.
Okay.
This is first reading. We'll bring it back with a we'll publish in public hearing next month.
So this basically is codifying the rate study, or the rates that were presented to us last month.
Question maybe for Beth. Does this need to have a start date in it when the change occurs?
Well, it cross-references, or at least if it does not, it correlates to the contract that's going into effect January 1.
January
So,
It does say a full force and effect from and after January 1, 2025.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a start date?
then that would be it, yep.
Okay.
And that's assuming, I mean, that you'd update it if the terms would change at the end of the contract, but if not, we could effectively keep referring to this ordinance if rates and things do not change. And the vendor,
Yes, that's what they agreed to.
yeah, let them send down the road, like at the end of that contract, if they say, hey, nothing's changing, if you guys want it, we'd
Yeah, well-
effectively not
Well,
have to
there are
pass it
incremental changes in that contract, so we'll have to likely amend this.
a couple
It
times.
doesn't have an end date to it, and we were under the impression that we were fixing this, I think, for 8 years. Should it give us the authority to change it on expiration of the contract and renewal
We'll
or
have to
something
update
like-
the ordinance anyways.
Just update it later?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't mean to fix it for eternity.
Well, I'm sure we'll be reminded that the contract is coming to completion. Because we will forget over the next 8 years.
Yeah, beginning of year 9, what? Why did it go up?
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
It's funny because I've had two citizens walk up and express concerns about the rate increase, and then when you point out to them that it's fixed for 8 years, they're happy, so.
Yeah.
And you get quite a bit more service with it, too.
Yep. Great. All right, any other comments on the ordinance? We will see this back next month then for final action. Next up is Resolution 111224, adoption of the Denny and White properties. This is the Arbor Homes annexation fiscal plan.
So we have, the next three items are really related items. They all kind of go together. They are in the order in which they need to progress from an official motion standpoint. But would you like to kind of have the PUD presentation first and then work our way through those agenda items, or how would you like to proceed?
Whichever you guys feel comfortable with, what's better for you guys.
Petitioner, do you have a preference?
No preference. I mean, if you want to see us do our presentation first, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, why don't you come up and just we'll do that, and then
Good afternoon. Dominic Dreyer with Arbor Homes. Good to be in front of you guys again on this project. I'll quickly go through this. It's a very similar presentation to what we presented at Plan Commission and also at our first introduction, but just kind of want to show you where our PUD stands today. So the site we're looking at here, to remind everyone, is at the kind of tucked away at the corner of 700 West and West 500 North. We're talking about 120 acres just to the south of Stansbury. Here's our concept plan that is included on our most recent PUD. Again, 120 acres. You see two colors up here. That is our two different product types that will be in this development. Total amount of lots will be 326 maximum lots, and the pink lots identified here are our Arbor homes, Arbor series of homes. There will be a maximum of 212 of those home sites with, there'll be a mix of 55-foot wide and 65-foot wide. I'll address it here. I might have a slide on it later as well, but the comment about these northwest home sites there, those will be 65-foot wide, which was requested at the Plan Commission meeting. Destination is our ranch-style, low-maintenance single-family home. Those are 61-foot wide lot sizes and identified by yellow. We'll have, you see asterisks on some of these lots. Those are lots that will have a rear facade enhancement, and those are mostly the ones that are visible as you would drive by the development. The lots with a dot on them, those are what we've deemed as corner or high visibility lots. Those will have architectural enhancements, especially on the sides, on those lots as well. So, open space, we are at just over 30 acres of open space throughout the development. We are preserving 7 acres of woodland along kind of the eastern edge of the neighborhood. We'll be activating that with a trail system. Again, I know in our original PUD we said that those trails within the trail system, all the other trails throughout the development would be asphalt, but we did indicate those would be mulch. I think we came to an acceptable resolution of having some of the trails in the wooded area as asphalt. Essentially, that you would, between two of the points, a segment would be asphalt, so you could traverse through the wooded area on an asphalt trail. We do have a mock-up of our trail system there. Obviously, we haven't been able to get in there to see what exactly what that route would be, but we have given discretion to planning staff to make sure we comply with that requirement. Our development will also feature 2 playgrounds, a pool, again, more trails throughout the community, like around that pond up around the pool. To walk again, or to remind everyone of kind of what our products are here. Arbor Homes, that's our bread and butter. It's what we've been doing for 30 years. It's our traditional single-family home. We presented 10 floor plans to ARC back in, what was that, July, as well as multiple front facade elevations of each of those floor plans. All of the approved ones have been included as a PUD exhibit for our character exhibits. This home can be single or two-story and can live anywhere from 1,200 to 3,200 square feet. Go to the next slide. Destination is our ranch-only floor plan. This is a low-maintenance, would be a low-maintenance portion of the community. So grass and snow removal would be included for these homes. Again, ARC, we did get a favorable recommendation of many of our floor plans and elevations. Those have been included in the PUD.
So, I'll go back real quick. You said low maintenance. How does that work once you guys turn over to the HOA?
Sure.
So is there a commitment that the HOA is going to have to figure it, part of the people living in that community are going to have things maintained and the other people are self-reliant on maintaining their property? Is that how that works?
Those will be in our DCCRs, in our recorded HOA documents. I believe we've done that in past communities that have had Destination and Arbor.
Okay.
So we haven't had any issue with it.
Just going to be clear, because
Yeah,
somebody
of course.
down the road is going to go, why is my neighbor getting their house,
Understood, yeah.
everything mowed and plowed and I don't,
And I think that was kind of the intent of how we grouped the homes in the neighborhood. We, it wasn't every other lot was going to be a Destination lot, and just that'd be a headache on just the contractors, but let alone we want to make sure that those people living in the home know, I think, Plan Commission on October 15th, we did receive a favorable recommendation. Again, these are the two, I think, big items that hopefully we've addressed here tonight, the trail system through the wooded trail, or wooded area, and the larger lots in that northwest corner of the site. So, yeah, thank you.
I like the fact of keeping the woods. I really do. That's that's nice. And it's a product we need in the southern end of the town, so it's better than the alternative that was been presented in the past for that area. So I'm good with it.
That's great to hear.
Any other question for the petitioner?
Yeah, just back on your site plan there, which is up behind you.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's two signs for this development, a primary and a secondary sign. And the entrances are not boulevards. And I wondered if you could speak to where those signs would be placed so they don't obstruct views of oncoming traffic at the entrances.
Sure.
For the boulevard, it's fairly easy to place it in the middle of the two lanes, but these aren't boulevards, so it's got to go on one side or the other, I guess, or well away from the entrance.
Sure. I think at this stage on our site plan, we don't kind of have the final design of what those entrances would look like. So I don't know about the exact location. Obviously, we'll work through all the city staff and as we're building those entrances and signs. I don't.
And I take it 700 is the primary entrance.
Yes.
And then
I would just add that, when the time comes, they'll have to submit a sign permit for each of their signs. And one of the things that we'll review for, and I'll kick it to Mark to do that part of the review, is to ensure that signs are not located in the vision clearance triangle.
yeah, I wouldn't mind if those became boulevards either. So.
And I think we've tried to program in a lot of space there at those entrances. So
Yeah, it looks like it's a fair amount of space. It probably could be set back. On that south retention pond that kind of parallels the road, I think it was spec'd out to have a 3-foot mound between the road and that pond.
That is in the PUD, the mounting requirements on both frontages.
I personally would like to see some other sort of barrier besides the mound added there to keep vehicles out of that pond, because as ice and snow and sliding occurs, I think the mound will be more a launch ramp than a barrier.
Yeah, so Mark has some flexibility or maybe some interpretation power is a better way of stating that concerning barriers and retention ponds. Mark, you want to take that?
Yeah, the code actually requires a 1/2 right-of-way width across there from the spacing from the pond. And if that is not met, then there's some form of barrier, and then there's some discretionary language on what that barrier could be, whether it's guardrails, bollards, landscaped berm, there's options there, and that's usually worked out at the detail plan, not at the concept plan.
I don't know what the others think, but I'd prefer not to see galvanized guardrail there, but.
Oh, yeah.
We take aesthetics into account when we
Thank you.
look through that.
And then on the higher visibility lots that require the rear accoutrements, that goes away if it's a full masonry wrap, right? So they don't need to have that if it's full masonry?
I don't remember, to tell you the truth.
I need to.
I'm just kind of verifying my memory here. So I don't really want it to come up if they build full masonry one and don't have the rear features, somebody to, complain about that, because I think if they have the full masonry, that was a trade-off for not having to build the rear feature. And I think it's full brick and or masonry, which are treated a little bit differently.
So the asterisk lots, which are the perimeter lots, shall have a rear gable in the form of one of the following: an enclosed sunroom, covered back porch with a minimum 8x8 columns, a rear bump of at least 10 feet in width and 4 feet in depth. You're correct. If a first floor brick wrap is chosen, a gable is not required.
That's the gable that goes away.
The gable goes away, the brick requirement is a brick wrap at that point.
And then the porches just have to be 4 feet wide. There's not a minimum square footage.
Correct.
All right. That's all the questions I have. Oh, and the decorative garage doors are optional, right?
They are optional on this
Some
one.
show solid and some show decorative, and I think it was optional on the garage doors being decorative.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions from the petitioner? We got a couple things, items that we're gonna have to vote on. So before that, I would like to give anybody in the public who has questions, concerns, remonstrance, or of support, a chance to come up and speak. Again, we're gonna limit to 2 minutes. Just give your name and address, please, if you have. Do I have anybody? Good, okay, well, move on. So the first order of business is the adoption of the fiscal plan. Once we approve that, or if we don't approve it, then everything else is moot. So pretty much first order of business is approval of the fiscal plan. And I gotta say, I do appreciate now having in there the cost for police and the other things that we've in the past were not, so.
Best fiscal plan I've seen.
It's been good, really good job.
Jennifer Hudson from London Whitty is patiently sitting here up front if you have any questions.
Yeah. If not, we'll,
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance,
it's a resolution.
or resolution 111224, or excuse me,
Yeah, that's correct.
correct.
Second.
That's correct.
It's been a first and second to approve resolution 1112224, the adoption of the Denny and White Properties Arbor Homes Annexation Fiscal Plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Next order of business is the ordinance number 100824B. This is the Denny and White Properties Arbor Homes Annexation Ordinance. This is a second reading. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 111224.
That's one. That's
no, this
ordinance-
is 10.
Next line.
It's the one before that.
Got it, I'm sorry. So I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 100824B.
Second.
There's been a first and a second to approve ordinance number 100824B, the Denny and White Properties Arbor Homes Annexation Ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Next ordinance is ordinance number 111224A, Denny and White Properties, also known as Arbor Homes PUD Ordinance. This is a second reading, and the reason it's a second reading is because it went through Planning Commission. So, and they have approved that through a 7-0 vote, so.
One other question. Snow removal's in there, right?
It is in this one, yes.
Okay,
I know.
double check that,
I just
please.
looked, okay.
Good call.
I'm
Thanks, Dr.
confident it's
Bernie.
in there, but I will double check.
I'll make a motion to
Yes.
approve ordinance 111224A.
Second.
There's been a first and a second to approve ordinance number 111224 24A, the Denny and White Properties Arbor Homes PUD ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Congratulations.
Next order of business is, I think Mark's handling this, is a discussion on train info. This is a train sensing and messaging system proposal.
Yes, what this is it is a system that allows us to collect data on the number of trains and the impact of those trains on our crossings. So there is a proposal attached that kind of outlines a few different options. This is not the formal proposal that would be signed, but really just more of a discussion point to start with. And what council was asked is, or what staff would ask is for council to authorize. The option we would like to see is option number 3. What that does is install the initial sensors. There'd be 3 of them, and that would allow us to begin collecting data. This is data that we have never had or had the ability to. It would give us data that we could collect and attach to future grant opportunities to allow us to improve that crossing. So an underpass, if we got any kind of federal aid opportunities, this would give us a lot more meat to the to tell the story of the impacts of this trains coming through at rush hour. So the meat of what's included in this is 3 sensors. That's essentially what we'd be purchasing. That's the 56385 number. And then there's an ongoing monitoring that goes along with that. That's the 10,200. And that would reoccur every year after. These sensors log the exact time a train comes through. They have cameras that actually register the traffic when it's clogged and when it essentially clears. So it monitors how long that takes, and then we'll have that data running forward. The other options in this is something that we want to come back to council in the future. The options where it says option 1 or 2, those give the ability to add a message board or a beacon, and that would be able to provide information to the public traveling along Mount Comfort Road. That's not what we're asking for tonight. We're asking for just the start of the data collection so we can have that information. But there's going to be opportunities for us to locate properly where those should be located, to tell the traveling public along the Mount Comfort corridor when the crossing is blocked and where they can seek alternate routes. The data also will pass through to Google Maps, Waze, and Apple Maps as well.
Is that in the option that we're looking at?
Yes.
Right now?
Well,
Okay.
the data passing on. Message boards, like I said, are not, they're included in option 1, beacons are in option 2. All we're talking about right now is option 3, which is just the sensors and being able to pass that information through to those systems and to gather it for ourselves.
Would the option 3 include like the Waze and Google Maps integration?
It does.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And
It also includes the county EMS system.
Yes.
And it also can interface with the traffic light that's synchronized up
so,
at the intersection, I believe.
Dr. Murray, you've went through a bunch of this. Does option 3 kind of fit what you had in mind?
Yeah. I agree with Mark.
Mark, what else, besides passing on the data and us gathering, what can we use that data for in the future for us?
Well, there's going to be a couple things. Like I mentioned, grant opportunities. I think everybody here knows the impact of having a train hit during the peak hours, but being able to communicate that clearly and how bad that is, we can't tie data to that. It's just word of mouth or just a written description of it. This would actually be able to provide data that we can share with agencies that are evaluating these proposals. So that's one. Second is we want to be able to get a baseline for what the traffic's doing right now. So we have these sensors in place for a while, and then if we come back and add message boards or beacons, we can see if they're having any positive impact to the traffic. You know, is having a message board helping clear the queue faster, so to speak. So that's the other thing by doing this now we could have.
Do we get to, in the future, like if we chose to go from option 3 to option 2, do we get a chance to just pay the spread?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's scalable that way.
Yeah.
With no
So
additional charge.
this proposal is not like the formal proposal that
Sure.
would be written out. What staff is going to ask is for you to authorize Greg to sign that proposal, and then when we come back in the future for one of the other options, whether it's a message board or beacon or some combination, we would come back with another proposal that would just be specific to that. Like the option 1 essentially includes the sensors. So you can see on there that 108,000, 56 of it is for sensors. So they just gave us some options to see how we would want to approach this.
How much time of data do you need before you would need to come back and recommend whether we need boards or not?
I would say probably a year would probably be about the right period of
So
time.
first year, 56 with the sensors, communicating the information to the different mapping systems that are out there that people use, give a year's full data, whether or not we come back and decide whether or not we need message boards and where they would be located if we needed them.
Yeah, we could probably present the data, depending on when we get this up and running, we could present the data in the 2026 council retreat, and then kind of discuss if we want to pursue this further or not, depending on what we're getting back and how we understand it.
One very fascinating possibility with it, Greg, is as the public catches on to the information being available, and it can be available in a number of fashions.
One of the
and
ways
changes their behavior by leaving earlier, leaving later, turning right or turning left, or seeing that the crossing is closed, and if they're coming through our town from the north or south, heading east or west to, seek an alternative route, while they have a chance before getting in the queue, we have the possibility of decreasing the queues simultaneously with the train arrival and them clearing faster, which decreases the aggregate wait time as you add it up over a bunch of vehicles. And it will take some time for the public to learn, how to download and put the TrainFo app on their phones, which gives them real-time information, or if they prefer just Waze, it only updates every 15 minutes. And then the other thing is the interface with the emergency medical systems, or EMS. If we can show a significant reduction in our delays, as has been shown in other communities that have this, it could raise our ISO rating. It could decrease our need to build a second fire station south of the tracks in McCordsville. It could influence police deployment north and south of the tracks and how they cover that, if they have that type of information and know they're not going to get interrupted if they go this way or that way. So all those sorts of opportunities are there, and that is going to take some time to push out and educate and for people to learn. It won't be immediate adoption day one.
I mean, I'm all for anything that maybe will improve the traffic compared to the train. So I appreciate Dr. Bernie finding this, doing the research on it, presenting the council. This is, I think it's a good thing to have.
Well, it was sheer dumb luck.
Well, still appreciate it,
I just tripped over, it was right in front of me. I'm
That's
like,
good.
oh.
Well, but you brought it back to us. You could have said that, and I think that's, and I think the fact that couple other communities in the state are using this, that they're New Albany's in New Haven, and somebody, or I mean, the railroad track's not going anywhere, so we got to do whatever we can to live with it, so.
They did send us some links, if anybody's interested, that we can look at the Trainfo app in action, I think, in New Haven. We have a link to get on that and sign on. I think Mark could share it with you if anybody wants to see that work.
One other thing too is the $56,385 is essentially our first year subscription plus the cost of the equipment.
Okay.
We will have some cost to install the equipment, and that's going to be it's not included in this number. So they're just utility pole mounted, so they're not large costs for that, but the town will need to find a contractor to actually mount these.
Yeah, they can go on existing poles if people are willing to let us use them. AES might be interesting, 9-Star I'm sure would be happy to.
Yeah.
They just kind of band on with clamps onto the poles.
Yeah,
If you have to install your own pole, it's 15 to 20 feet tall, 20 feet tall if you're putting solar on it. And then all the modules band onto that pole that don't need any wires or cables. It's all cell phone and wireless.
Yeah, there's not a lot of installation cost there unless we have to install our own pole. But we're going to get into the specifics of that if council's agreeable to the system.
I'm supportive of it.
Yeah. Well, I was just kind of curious because Carroll Road doesn't have a sensor right there at Broadway. Is that a possibility? Or?
We talked about where to locate that. The thought process was there wasn't going to be a huge difference between locating the west sensor at 750 or at Carroll Road. So the idea is you're targeting your main sensor, which is the one at 600 West, that we're trying to collect the data, and essentially the sensors that are located east and west give you essentially lead time that indicate the crossing is about to be blocked. So that's kind of what that is, and we're going to look at that location at 750. If that works out, that's where we've got at least
We can always add
listed.
more sensors.
Yeah, we can add more sensors, or we could shift that sensor location over to 700. The thought process, though, was 700 was not our road, and 750 is, so it gives us a little more options.
Yeah, there's just so much more traffic on 700 versus 750.
Yeah, the intent for the gathering data is not necessarily like we've got one located, shown here on 500 West. We're not intending to use that data. We'll have it, but the intent is not to collect that data as a target intersection. It's just that we'll indicate and we'll have a lead time on when the train crosses. It gives us more warning. So, matter of fact, that fourth option was just one sensor option, which we kind of talked through, and it just for the cost of what it is, it just made more sense to do the option 3. So I will tell you that funding for this, we would like to pay for it out of $2024 out of MBH. We would just encumber here in December.
I love this, and I'm really supportive of it. I do wonder, with what John just said, would we have the option to maybe partner with, say, Lawrence and Fortville? And we'd have a much better lead time on the traffic, and it might reduce our cost.
That was discussed. We didn't want to paint any kind of picture for it, but we also didn't want to overly complicated this initial proposal.
Understood.
But
I'm just thinking further down the road, like
they have a cost structure that is set up, and they do it by county.
Okay.
So if we wanted to, we could partner with Fortville if we wanted to extend the sensors, where, say, Fortville got sensors in their town. Essentially, that 10,200 would be reduced.
Okay.
So we could split that annual maintenance
Got it.
cost. It wouldn't change our initial
The upfront.
capital cost,
Okay.
but it would reduce that long-term maintenance.
Cool.
Matter of fact, the county could also, if they wanted to add additional sensors at other locations, somewhere in the county.
Well, I think we're the guinea pig on this.
Yeah.
B, I think if we have success and we gather some good data, other people will be interested in jumping on. So I think it's a small investment to start really taking a more effective approach to. We're never going to solve until we get an underpass. We're never going to solve that. But if we can provide information of trains coming through, like you said, and Warren, or I use Apple Maps all the time just because I want to know. That'll be great to know. Hey, take an alternative route. So great. So if there's no other discussion, anybody want to make a motion to authorize me to sign the proposal?
I move we authorize President Brewer to sign the train foe proposal
For option 3.
for option 3.
Second?
There's been a first and second for me to sign the train info proposal for option 3. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right. Next up is Resolution 111224A, approval of town fiscal policies. Tim?
So we have 3 fiscal policies for the town that kind of guide our investments, our debt management, our liquidity. And we're required to update those review them at least every 2 years and recertify them every 5 or so. So this is the update. We did not have these in place when I started. We got them approved fairly quickly, based them on another community. So this is our first chance to revisit them and make some changes. I sent those red lines out to you late last week. Did not get any feedback on those, so these versions are the red lines with all the changes accepted. I would say the only one I'd point out as a kind of a significant change was the amount of cash required in the reserves. General fund at any time, we lowered actually from 25%, which was pretty restrictive, down to 10. We never intend to get down to 10, but because of our growth and because of our need to do the max appeal each year, we have to show that we're spending our cash and we're accounting for our cash. So Mike Reuter, our consultant, considered that we were just a little bit tight on that policy. So we brought it down to equal what we're allowed to stash away in our rainy day fund each year, which is the 10%. So we just matched that instead. But believe me, I will be in full panic mode if we hit 10% in our general fund. Happy to answer any questions. Sorry.
Any comments, questions?
I like them.
Okay. I didn't see anything when you sent them out, so I think, and again, these, we can update them as necessary if we need to, correct?
Yeah, we can revisit these anytime, and actually it requires the clerk treasurer to review them, I think at least biannually, if not dust them off once a year and make sure we're falling in line. Plus, there's quite a few different reporting requirements, at least annually on these, so you'll get information from them as well.
I'll make a motion we pass resolution 11124A.
Second?
There's been a first and second to approve resolution 111224A, approval of town fiscal policies. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right. Ryan.
Yeah, project status report is posted. Just kind of the normal updates from month-to-month time frame. I'll say I did add at the very, very bottom a few of our more time-intensive internal projects to this list. We never had the internal project list before. So, comp plan, we have quite a few ongoing code violations, road impact fee studies, zoning ordinance amendments, permit software, et cetera. If anybody else is still updated, happy to answer any questions you may have on it.
Broke 100.
Yeah.
I'd like to start seeing some of these come off.
You and me both.
I mean,
100%.
I mean,
There's a-
I'm
there's
a
a few-
procrastinator. This is like my dream. This is a procrastinator's, but it's great. It's good that we have an inventory and way for us to stay up.
There is a
up to
few
date.
that we could take off. I just haven't done it because I think as soon as I take them off, they'll need to go back on.
back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions anymore? All right, if not, town manager's report.
A couple things before the listed items. Just congratulations, and Mark in particular. We rewarded our the CCMG funds for the fall call. Is it the fall call? They pushed.
It was in July.
Okay, the second call of the year. They keep changing the timelines on us, but we received over $1 million. That is going to allow us to pave quite a few roads. In this particular one, we did something a little different, where we're going to be focusing on 500 West and actually kind of widening it a little bit and adding some shoulders and repaving. There's been a lot of construction on 500 West, so we want that road to feel a little bit more urban versus a rural road. So we're going to do a little work on it and then repave it with CCMG dollars. So a little bigger scope than we normally do, and then there's a pretty significant amount of roads beyond that that will get paved as well. All in anticipation that we will submit again at the next call, which will be coming fairly soon. So these roads won't get paved till the spring, but we will bid them soon. Typically, this was 2 months ago, and we could have had a bid, so we could have encumbered the funds. So we're probably going to have to do an additional appropriation next year, just due to the timing that NDOT released it. But we have our match allocated for next year's budget for next year's calls. So we had it budgeted for this year's call, so but we don't have a contract encumber, so we'll have to come back for that. But
When bidding those, the specs for the top coat emulsions, I believe, have all been updated and changed. There's totally new emulsions out there.
I was gonna say, we've got our.
I've got the new ones if you want them. Probably do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we've got our, we'll follow our town standards for that. We have not updated those yet, but we will.
December 6th, 6 p.m. is the tree lighting right here at Town Hall, as well as visits with Santa. Leading up to Christmas, you'll be able to write letters and drop them off here at Town Hall as well. I've been told that there are going to be 2 elves available at this tree lighting, so might be worth the experience. I'll just leave it at that.
Tim and Ryan, right?
No, Stan. And we did get our outfits today, so let's call that other duties as assigned. Proposed 2025 holiday schedule. We're trying to check off some of the year-end items early. Normally, we wouldn't need to bring this. It stays pretty consistent. However, next year is that unusual year where there's no elections. So we don't have primary election or election day off, which we typically take off because they use this building, so we're just in the way. But there are no elections next year. So we have replaced those. We gave some options to our council president, and we have replaced that with Columbus Day and New Year's Eve for next year. So everything else stays the same, and everything else is updated. So this will have to be included in our salary ordinance for next meeting. So we wanted to get in front of you and make sure nobody had any concerns over the 2025 holiday schedule prior to us putting it in the salary ordinance. Okay. And then just real quick on election logistics, everything went fine here. We're just a much bigger community than we used to, and presidential elections get a lot more voters. So Ron had to come in. We had people parking all the way down and on the berm because nobody's, the elections are, I should point out, the elections are run by the county. We pay the county a lot of money to run the elections, but they run them, so we did not have any traffic control or anything out here. There was, so people did the best they could. We didn't hear many complaints or anything, but it was a little chaotic. Ron did come out and try to get some exits open, so we had a traffic flow and everything, so we weren't just driving everywhere. That being said, I think in the future, we're hoping that because of our size and because of the demands, we had a ton of people walk into town hall asking for early voting, which we did not have in McCordsville. We're hoping that the community center gets done next year, and the smaller room in the community center could become a early voting center for future elections. So we're going to talk to the county about that as an option and see if that logistically will work. But as we're doing the architecture of that, we'll make sure that we kind of factor in the idea that we need to swap out locks and be able to secure that room in case we do make that an election center. And then also in future elections, having a north and south voting center. So I think we're getting enough capacity now that we probably need to split it up into 2 spots. And so again, we'll have that discussion with the county, but whether it's the PD or the community center, which parking will be a little tough down there, and then here as well, but splitting that vote up in 2. Now, if it's a local election, we can handle that, right? So, but presidential years, I think we're getting to the size where we need to spread it out a little bit, and we need to offer some. There's plenty of early voting, but we had a lot of people walk in the door and fielded a lot of questions about early voting. So I think we're going to try to accommodate that in the future. So just my observations getting through another election cycle.
Okay, well, we also need to work with the county to advertise better the other locations, because there were several other locations over on the side of the county that did not see the volume.
We would send everyone to the schools, but we posted, this is not an early voting location on our front doors. We posted where all the early voting locations were on the front doors and the glass customer service doors, and we still got a bunch of questions. And then there was an issue with Google. We had an old 2016 early voting document that was on our website from 2016. We removed it from our website, but it was still caught in Google. So when people would vote, would put in early voting McCordsville, that would pop up, and they think that there was early voting here.
I had somebody.
Nobody looked that it was 2016.
Yeah, I had somebody message me about that.
Yeah.
They were not happy.
But we couldn't do anything about it. We can't change Google's formulas, so
Yeah.
we deleted the document off the website. That's the best we could do.
This is one of the possible uses of the DMS boards, if you have them in train folk, is other messaging can be put out on them. In New Haven, for instance, they have one in front of their town hall, and they have everything on there from trunk or treat to this intersection, that intersection is closed by a train, and they have fingertip control over that from their town hall. You can put one of those out by the road. People can just keep going instead of coming in to read the notice on the front door.
Yeah. Every presidential.
They're just,
federal one.
I mean, turnout's just so much higher those years.
Yeah, we get a lot of people from Lawrence who think this is a voting site too. That's the other problem. So, oh well, that's a county problem. We'll just have to keep working with them out. Okay, we're at a portion of our meeting, the town council members' comments. Again, just for people who are new, we give this time. Any town councilman can talk about anything they want. We give them 5 minutes, and they do not have to use their time if they don't want to. So I will start with Dr. Price.
Just 2 things. The first one is the railroad crossing on Carroll Road out on Broadway is in pretty sad shape. Carroll, 700 West.
And 750.
It's kind of falling apart, actually. And so I guess it's the railroad's responsibility, but they need to be made aware.
We can reach out. Yeah, we can reach out and contact CSX about that crossing. We've had mixed results in the past on that, but it always helps to document that, so maybe I'll go out and take a photo of the damage and see if I can alert them of that, and they can start planning. There's no immediate plan to do anything with that crossing, so probably a good idea to contact them.
Yeah, it's in difficult shape now, so you can only imagine come March what it'll be like. And the second thing is, we need to set up an executive town council meeting.
Maybe. Still, I haven't had a chance to talk to the legal counsel about that. So, if and when it's warranted, I will let you know.
Why? Good, but I think it's important that we get together and hash out the issues that have been brought to the surface.
Well, again, we have to discuss whether or not what you want to discuss can be done in an executive meeting, or where we're at, it's in a public meeting. So until I've had a chance to talk with council one-on-one, like you and Councilman Gooding and Councilman Bernie have on the situation, I'm not in a position where I'm ready to schedule that.
Yeah,
So, because you guys are privy to information, I'm not.
Yeah, I just asked the question of what sort of town council meeting be required, and I believe the town council made the statement that it's an executive session.
It's still need to be determined. I'm getting two different opinions on that. So, once it's hashed out, I'll let council know. And any other comments?
No.
All right. Scott?
Nothing for me.
Dr. Bernie?
Our zoning ordinance is about to go before Plan Commission. This is the updated version, or where are we with that?
So there is an update moving forward to Plan Commission next week that's related to window signage and window signage only. If you're referring to the larger concept of basically rewriting the entire zoning ordinance, which is still planned, that's a 2025 project.
I see. So I would like to provide input for the 2025 project, not the one that's going to Plan Commission next week. Two things. One is kind of an additional, they're additional documents for developers. If you go to a real estate closing and you sign a myriad of forms, which might pile up to 1.5 inches thick, one of the forms you sign is you agree to allow sort of editorial corrections or cooperate with those if they become necessary later. You kind of agree in advance to, like, you know, if they left off a 0, you really owe $580,000 and not 50 or 5,800. So it's like with the snow plowing. I had thought of a laundry list of items that we always would require or want, like McCordsville's name on the entrance side, on the entrance sign, snow plowing, their acknowledgement that if they can see a school, it doesn't mean a child in the house they sold gets to attend that school, that they're referred to the website for the school system that, you know, shows the school system's idea of where the kids are going to go to school, which may be different than where they live, that sort of thing. And that if we left any of these things out of their PUD, like no fences in a drainage easement, that kind of stuff, that they agree to make those commitments if we left them out inadvertently. Just kind of correct the error after the fact. That would be one thing. And the other thing would be along the lines of a more complete description of what's going on outside of their development, because they come in and they have to have a property owner's signature for, say, 80 acres of the development. But then later, you find out that they haven't really figured out how to get the utilities in. Somebody said no on the easement. Now that pushes that out further. and it pushes it into the realm of surrounding existing property owners. Really, I think we should be asking them for signatures of property owners who are going to sell them the parcels that the main development's going to be on, plus signatures of the property owners who are going to grant the easements on the periphery of their property that's really not on the parcel they're purchasing, for where they're going to bring in the electric and the gas and the water and so on and so forth, so that we know that they have those easements lined up ahead of time, rather than well, let's see if we can get it to go this way. We can't get it to go that way. Maybe Joe over here will take $3,000 to dig in his yard, you know, and it zigzags this way and that way and gets dragged under various streets and so on. So a more complete control over the land that they're going to develop, that can be all disclosed up front, and that includes acceleration and deceleration and turn lanes and road widenings and moving of mailboxes and all the sorts of things that happen on the periphery of a development that really aren't part of the development itself, that do affect the surrounding property owners. Could all be talked about in the public meetings for the Plan Commission. Would enlarge, maybe, you know, maybe make the secondary plat a little bit more drawing time, something like that, and a little more paperwork. But they really ought to have all that stuff, you know, in hand when they're coming in to do a, you know, $30 to $50 million development, I think. Just my
So you're
opinion.
saying have all that at the rezone stage or the secondary plat stage?
Well, at some stage, at some point. We don't really have it right now. They just have to come in and say, yeah, Joe's going to sell us this 80 acres, and that's where we want to put, you know, XYZ development. But really, they're going to put it there, and then they're going to go around the edge of it with utilities and pipes and road enlargements and road widenings and acceleration, deceleration lanes, and all that affects the surrounding property owners. And it's nice if they see that in advance, rather than coming in and saying, nobody ever talked to us about this in these meetings. And yeah, it was mentioned, but it's really not on the initial drawings when they're presented, just for the sake of completeness, I guess.
Thanks.
That's all.
Appreciate it, Dr. Bernie. All right, I have nothing tonight, so
I'll move that we approve the vouchers.
Second.
there's been a first, second to approve the vouchers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next meeting will be December 10th, 2024 at 6 p.m.